Thank you for joining us. This is our second informational webinar on the employment and transition or placement and development training opportunity or learning opportunity. We're going to be talking Nancy, bordering Mexico. Oh my goodness.
I'm right here, 15 miles.
You're right here. I'm good.
I'm right here.
So it's a training, learning opportunity for the AIVRTTAC programs who are interested in creating the infrastructure of an employment specialist within their program. And we're going to go through the PowerPoint today. It's going to give you some definitions. And at the end of the PowerPoint, we're also going to have an opportunity for you to fill out a survey if you or your program's interested in participating. All right, so there's 3 of us on this team that's running through the learning opportunity. I'm going to let my 2 partners introduce who they are and what they bring to the table. Nancy?
Hi, everyone. Good to see you this morning. Hope you are doing well and staying safe. And hopefully soon I'm not even gonna go there with COVID, never mind. Anyway, I am entering my final stages of my dissertation for UTRGV here in Texas, border of Mexico. I'm also a part-time lecturer, so I bring a massive amount of education, curricula, development, and procedures to this team, and I'm happy that Wayne has asked me to come aboard. And I'm also an adjunct professor for TVRS Institute in Bellingham, Washington. And I think I've seen several names on here that you've had classes under me. Thank you. So that's what I am. Here I am, and hopefully you guys will help us to help you. So ask a lot of questions, please, when it's time. That's it, Tamara, you can have it now.
Okay, good morning. My name's Tamara Patterson. I am in North Carolina. I work with the North Carolina Department of Commerce as a field services monitor, which in layman terms just means that I monitor WIOA programs throughout North Carolina and ensure compliance. And how that is helpful to this project is that we want to incorporate some work readiness and employer development skills with having participants and helping participants to find employment, and also helping employers to provide the services to the participants. And so I've got a lot of knowledge about WIOA. I've been with that program for about 10 years in different capacities. I've been a career advisor. I've worked as a center manager, career center manager. And now again, I am the field services monitor for North Carolina. There's only 3 of us in the state of North Carolina. So I am one of the 3. So like Nancy said, we're excited about this project. We want you to ask questions. And I'm excited about it and looking forward to working with you all.
Thanks, guys. And most of you guys know me. I'm the loudmouth from AIVRTTAC. Just kidding. Well, maybe I am. Maybe you guys all think I am. I don't know. I'm the co-director of AIVRTTAC. I've been in the AIVR's world for quite a while, both as a director and as a consultant previously. And then I was AIVRTTAC, VR specialist with AIVRTTAC, and now I'm the co-director. What brings the experience I bring to the table is I've developed a community rehab program that worked contract with the state VR system in developing positions for consumers in the community. So I've developed that whole infrastructure from the ground up and help people learn how to place people in competitive employment how to job carve, all that fun stuff. And so that's what I'm bringing to the table on this project. The goal is to improve AIVRTTAC program's performance, leading to successful employment outcomes for American Indians, Alaska Natives with disabilities. So we're gonna make this happen through development, implementation, and evaluation of curriculum materials and content on employment development and placement practices. So everything we just kind of covered between the three of us, that's what we're bringing to the table. We want to develop the infrastructure, the outline. Then we're going to help you develop the internal knowledge or skills, I guess, to implement the materials that are being created through the program. So the practices that we're going to focus on are going to be 30-day placement plans. We're going to look at job development, job carving, and reasonable accommodations. They all kind of go together. That's why they're in this heading. Understanding the work culture when developing employment placement and supporting consumers. Now, when we start talking about that, what I'm talking about is the environment that our tribal governments put us into. So I don't know how to say it nicely, so I'm just going to say it. when we have a leadership change and one family gets fired and the whole other family gets hired, that's the type of stuff we're talking about. How do we support our consumers through that change? How do we help them understand what's happening, and how do we help develop those positions so that they can remain stable? Also, along with that is the ADA stuff. When we start talking about tribal governments being sovereign nations and not having to follow the ADA guidelines and that type of thing, how do we help create reasonable accommodations in that work environment that the employer buys into and understands? And then the last one is going to be resources for employers and businesses. In the new language, we have the discussion around serving employers. Before, we always focused on our consumers only and what they needed for employment. However, under the new language, we are looking at what the employers need. So we develop employment network, the business liaison relationship, that type of thing. And that's where Tamara comes into play with her knowledge of WIOA and how all of that interacts with the state, and what that brings or is going to bring to the table for us is that knowledge of how to develop those networks and what other training opportunities we have that we can also use as comparable benefits when we develop our IPEs with our consumers. Am I doing okay, gals?
Perfect.
All
Perfect.
right.
Perfect.
I'm feeling like I'm stumbling a little bit coming off Christmas break. Too full of turkey still. So when we start looking at some of the definitions that we're going to be, definition of terms that we're going to be throwing around. So job development. This is where, the establishing and maintaining activities to develop, locate, and secure job openings for individuals. So that's just kind of a basic definition that we're going to utilize as we move forward in working through this project. We're going to look at how do we develop and how do we locate and how do we secure those job openings. That's the component that we're bringing into the job development. Job placement. So a lot of times you see these two terms used interchangeably, and we wanted to define both of them. So job placement is the act of offering the job to a finally selected candidate. So once you develop the position, when you get to job placement, that's where you go to your consumer and say, look, we got this job, we've worked it out with the employer, you want this position. Then we go to job carving. Again, this term gets thrown around interchangeably, and it's not. It's a very separate, standalone thing. Job carving is the act of analyzing work duties performed in a given job and identifying the specific tasks that might be assigned to an employee with severe disabilities. So basically, this is the skill set of being able to go in and do a labor market analysis of the position determine what level each activity of that job requires of the individual. If it's a high, high stress activity, or if it's a low stress activity, repetitive motion or not repetitive motion, that type of thing is where we start bringing all that in. We always look for full-time employment because we always shoot for the best of our consumers. That's what we support. We don't do the mid-level tasks or the low-level tasks as our main primary focus. We always look for that high-level full-time position for the consumer. Sometimes that's not always reasonable. So then that's where job carving comes into play. We look at a job, we pick out the spots that the individual has the strengths to do. We pitch that to the employer. Say, hey, look, we know that this is all of the job, but this is what our consumer can do, and this is what it's going to do for your business. And for me, an example I have of this is I had an individual that just loved the smell of laundry, and she loved folding laundry, and she loved when it get out of the dryer, that heat of the laundry. And she wanted to work as a what do they call them now? I don't want to say maid, a hotel maid, but
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping? Okay. Housekeeping. I just really aged myself right there. But anyways, so she wanted to be a housekeeper and at the hotel, but she couldn't do all of the job. She didn't pay attention to details. She'd go into her room. We did an assessment with her. She went into the room. She didn't vacuum. She didn't clean up the stuff. All she was focused on was the towels and the linens. So I went to the employer and said, look, can we have her do the stripping of the beds and the towels, wash it, and then dry it and fold it and do all that. And in my labor market analysis, I was able to show that this allowed the other staff to increase their productivity. And that was part of my pitch. If we hire this person to do this job, we can increase your productivity by, your other staff's productivity by 15 or 20%. And that was enough to get the employer to agree to that position. So that person was hired strictly to go in and strip beds and do laundry. And she was happy in that position. So that's really an example of job carving. And remember, Nancy and Tamara, if I get too far in the weeds, you guys got to stop me.
Gotcha. You're doing good.
Customized employment is the next definition. And that gets you switched with job carving a lot. So the difference between job carving and customized employment is a relationship between the employee and the employer. It's personalized so that both needs get met. And it's a universal strategy that benefits many people. So it's not just for that one person. It can be used across multiple levels. So what is an employment specialist? That's the person who's responsible for matching job applicants to a specific job that suits their talents. So right now we have 3 different levels that we utilize in the AIVRS programs. We have the VR counselors, and this, from what I've seen, is the most common approach that the AIVRS programs are using. And that VR counselor is doing double duty, right? So they're doing all the IPE stuff, the counseling and guidance, and all that responsibilities. And they're also taking on the responsibilities of the employment specialist. So then they're going out and carving these positions, or they're talking to the employers, that type of thing. The second one is using VR techs in that position. So that, again, they're doing the double duty. They're doing the VR tech responsibilities. I know some programs have techs doing the application and the intake, that type of thing. And then they're also going out and doing the contacts with the employers and developing those positions. The third opportunity, or I guess approach, is the employment specialist. It's a standalone position within the AIVRS programs, and that person's responsibility is solely finding people jobs and helping them gain employment and maintain that employment. Where AIVRS programs we usually don't have supported employment or long-term supported employment because we don't have a funding source for that. There is the opportunity that you can partner with a state VR program that is in your area to pay you to provide that long-term support. So that's another opportunity that we're going to discuss as we go through the placement model. So that's the three that we're seeing currently. And in this training opportunity, we're going to cover all three and provide information on how to develop all three. But the primary focus is we want you guys to be able to develop your own infrastructure for the standalone employment specialist. Okay, so here's our proposal. We're going to develop the curriculum models on each employment development placement practice. It's going to be informed by contextual factors that are relevant to the AIVRTTAC programs and as experienced by American Indian and Alaska Native individuals with disabilities. So this, as far as I know in the history, this is the first time this type of training has been offered to AIVRTTAC programs, that we're going to be focusing specifically on the needs of AIVRTTAC programs, what's found within the service areas, and how those service areas are being impacted by that. So this is the first time we've really dug into the environmental and the cultural context of placement. And it's super exciting. I'm pumped for this. The curriculum materials for each of the 4 topics will be formatted as self-contained modules. So let's say that you already have an idea of how to do employment placement and development. You can pull out one of the 4 topics and implement that in your program. So if, let's say you're doing in your approach, you're using the VR counselor as an employment specialist and a VR counselor, and they know how to do some job developing. So they know who to call in Tarot to get that information of open positions and that type of thing. But you want them to be able to go out and do some job carving. You can pull out that module and learn how to implement it in your program. It'll be step by step with tips and techniques, as well as the forms and materials that go with that. We're looking to recruit and confirm 4 AIVRTTAC programs, roughly 8 to 16 staff members to serve as a pilot of this project or learning opportunity. Those 4 programs will be the implementation sites as well. So the staff that is being identified by the program director as the employment specialist or employment contact will participate in the training opportunity or learning opportunity that we're developing. That's gonna, oh, that's later. Hold on. I got too far ahead. See, where are you guys at? They're all sleeping.
I know where you're going with that. No, we're awake. I was gonna say, let me give you that look.
Give me the look. I've been home with my mom for a couple weeks, so I know what that looks like now. I was refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to pilot and establish through virtual delivery mode. We had initially wanted to do it face-to-face with a couple face-to-face trainings, but with COVID and all that stuff that's happening, we have developed it as a virtual curriculum model. However, if we have the opportunity to travel soon, there might be that opportunity arising where we go visit the 4 sites. That's in the making. We don't know what's happening with that. But as of right now, it's going to be all virtual. We're going to do the coaching and monitoring through virtual Zoom meetings, telephone calls, all that fun stuff. We're going to provide the coaching on the curricula through the virtual meetings. And that's going to take approximately 24 hours. We're looking at 2-hour blocks. So that'd be about 4 hours a week over a 6-week period. So there's a pretty considerable amount of commitment that needs to be provided if you're looking at joining this learning opportunity. We're going to disseminate all materials through the pre-established AIVRTTAC website and our listserv, and also we're going to put it in the clearinghouse. So that's pretty cool that we have that opportunity to have it become a national learning opportunity or dissemination.
And can I say something? And this would give, I didn't ask permission, but can I give, sorry about that, Wayne.
Yes, ma'am, you can have it.
Can I have the floor for a minute? And this will give us all a chance to learn from each other to see what your questions are as we provide that coaching for you and those topics. And then, you know, for later on or for then we can, well, for right then we can answer those questions hopefully. And for later we can probably implement this into our information that we teach on so you can learn. Get that word training out of my mind.
I know. I feel you. So any staff, so the next, you know, for AIVR's programs, the actions that you need to take, if you're interested, or if you get assigned by your program director because they're interested, you're going to be participating in the learning program. We're going to develop that through several surveys that we're going to be, you know, or information we're going to gather, like about. We will meet together with our AIVRTTAC content experts, and that's Nancy and Tamara and myself. These scheduled meetings will also allow the staff to address any issues or concerns they are facing on site. So once we do that initial 24-hour initial 24-hour learning opportunity, coaching opportunity, you're gonna start to implement it in your communities. You're gonna use those skills and techniques, tips and techniques that we're providing in your community. Then we follow you for 9 months. We're going to work together for 9 months until September. At the end of our grant cycle, we're gonna close out and gather all that data so that we can compile it and send it forward with the next TA center that's coming up. So that'll still be available for the future. We also hope to have at the end of all of this a hard document manual that is available for the AIVR's programs, but it'll also be housed in that clearinghouse, so you can get on the clearinghouse and pull out any of those modules as needed. You guys will, as you're working in the field with these items, you will provide feedback on the materials, and we're really looking at the ease of use and understanding. So we want to make this as user-friendly as possible, that anybody can pick it up in the program and utilize it. And even if as a onboarding opportunity in the future, if you're hiring an employment specialist, we want it to be easy for you to use and train with in-house without AIVRTTAC having to be there. You'll work closely with the content experts and myself and the evaluator, Arden Day, in collecting data that's going to allow us to really refine these materials and the practice implementation of it. We're hoping to get a capacity building from this experience. We're developing it through as a cohort model so that all of the programs are working together. The 4 programs and the staff that are assigned will be working together in the development of and review of these products and tools. And the learning modules will be available for all AIVR's programs when we're done. And that's the biggest thing for me, is I want to get this information out to all of you guys so that everybody can utilize it as needed to develop this. It's one thing to be able to develop your IPE and get all the services in place, but it's another one to really be able to support your consumers as they transition into that employment. And that is where a lot of our programs, if we have a weak link in our chain, that's where that weak link is. We get them the jobs and we see that high recidivism because they don't keep the job. So they're coming back in. They get it, they lose it. They get it, they lose it. Well, that to me is showing that we are lacking in the development part of the placement model. We aren't going in and securing that position. We aren't creating a work environment that allows them to be stable and secure. And one of the biggest things for me is developing the natural supports in that work setting. So maybe they have a supervisor that they can confide in and say, hey, look, I've got this disability. These are the supports I need. And that supervisor is their go-to person after our employment specialist backs out. And I'm probably getting on the soapbox again and getting in too deep, so I apologize. And Nancy's shaking her head, yes. Hey, I haven't had an audience in like a week and a half. I'm sorry.
I know, you're lonely, I know, I see.
So ultimately, we want to have increased integrated competitive community employment for our consumers. That's the end goal that we're all looking for, is increasing your guys' successful outcomes by securing appropriate employment in the communities for our consumers. This information is going to be collected from, or excuse me, the selection process. We're going to collect information from the survey, which you'll see here in just a minute. And Nick, if you want to throw that up in the chat box now, that'd be great. You click on that survey, it takes you, or that link, and the survey is there. You fill it out. From those surveys that we receive, we will identify 4 AIVRS programs that want to participate in this. And out of that 4, the identified staff will participate in the learning opportunity. The program directors will also be encouraged to participate in that opportunity. So here's the link again. You can click on it there. You can email me if you have questions about this specifically. We are going to be looking at this stuff, all the information that we get. We're going to be looking at it from probably the end of this week into next week, and then I'll be determining the 4 programs and reaching out to you within the next 2 weeks to get this scheduled. I can tell you right now, after our last informational webinar, Nancy, Tamara, and I have been working on the materials already. We're getting some really exciting stuff happening, and I'm really excited about this opportunity. And then here's all of our contact information. Okay, so anything you'd like to add, Tamara or Nancy?
I don't.
It's again, I'm excited about working on this project because we know that particularly now during the COVID-19 pandemic, employment and unemployment has really taken a toll on a lot of the communities in general. So we know that it's really, really dire for people who have disabilities. And so we want to get in and do as much job matching, talk to those employers, get the employers' input, get them to buy into what we're doing so that they know what we're facing, what we're planning to do, and it's all to make the community better. To give them, as Wayne described in his intro, with how they can be more productive by hiring someone that we assist with employment. And so we got to get out there and talk to those employers and convince them to come to the table. And then we have to get our clients assessed thoroughly so that we can do that job matching. That's the key. And again, I think once we put it all together, it's going to work. I really do.
Very well said. Ditto.
So we've got, I kind of went through this PowerPoint pretty quickly because I wanted to give you guys an opportunity. Last time we ended up with a few questions, and I felt bad because we weren't able to answer all of them, and we had to answer a couple through email. So I wanted to early enough to make sure that we have an opportunity for you guys to ask your questions if you have them. So the floor is yours. Okay, everybody calm down.
You're still in Christmas mode.
Either that or we explained it so
No,
well.
neither. No.
Well, I've been working as a job developer, job coach since February, but we had that layoff from March to July. So
Yeah.
I've been working with our people to get them out into communities. And we have extended from going to just jobs within the nation to really reaching out to local communities to add new resources and stuff like that. And I've actually got one person right now successfully out working. So
Okay.
I'm really excited about that opportunity. And the one thing that we've had a problem with is our outreaches and not being able to do as many outreaches because of the COVID and not having very many participants in our program right now.
Right.
So I've only got a few people, but of the people I have one working and I have one getting ready to go into a work experience real soon. So
You know, it's the other part of this, you bring up the pandemic, and that's going to be encompassed in our learning opportunity as well. How do we do the virtual online type of job development or placement model? That's going to be encompassed in that approach. I don't know where the future's going as far as employment goes. It's going to be a challenge. Something that my wife and I talk about all the time is these employers like McDonald's. Okay, so if they now are operating because nobody can come into their room, into their restaurant anymore, and they're operating on a skeleton crew, and they're saving money by making people wait longer in the drive-through because they don't have to face you, right? Are they going to go back to a model that costs them more money, or are we just going to adapt to this new way? Maybe that's the case. Maybe we're going to see the shift go from an employees market to an employers market. In that time, I mean, I've seen it happen several times through the VR time I've been in VR, and it's always, there's ways to work with that. There's ways to continue to place people even though it's not a good market for employees. The employers have the upper hand in the hiring process at that point, and that's okay. We just have to figure out new skills, new ways to present those employees skills. So in that situation, we're looking at that and bringing that into the training or learning materials as we go. How do we approach this in a virtual world now? You know,
some of the things that we're seeing also is like our people need to have new skills, like being able to do an online interview and being able to fill out applications online and stuff like that, and not rely on paper applications, to actually be able to go onto the computer and fill out their application, and having professional emails.
Mhm.
You know, having a professional email is a big thing because a lot of I know some of them are pretty hilarious that people, but having that professional email. So because a lot of employers, that's the only way they want to contact you anymore is through an email or a text or something like that. So they have to have the skills to be able to attack the new work market and stuff like that, because if they don't have those skills, then they're behind, and they already have their disabilities which they're dealing with and stuff like that. So we need to be able to teach them those skills so that they can go into the work market ready.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I think that goes back to those soft skills that we discussed earlier, Wayne and Nancy and I, and inclusive in those soft skills. Some of those things will need to be included. So yes, we will have to look at that. On another note, I like what Wayne said. Yes, our employer is going to make a decision to go back. Our employer is going to make a decision to continue to save money and or serve people. But there's still a lot of jobs out there that requires face-to-face, especially particularly the healthcare field, even if it's a CNA or if it's you know, whatever it might be. There's still a lot of jobs that require face-to-face. So I think maybe part of the focus, that might be part of assessing our
Yes,
consumers
it is.
to see if they work better virtually or do they work better face-to-face. So that might be something to look at.
One of the other things though is what Wayne was saying. It comes back on the consumers, we as consumers to push the employers back into, no, we're not going to wait in a line out here. We'll take our business elsewhere. And once they see the drop in revenue because people aren't willing to wait in line, then they'll have to be and be forced to go back to, you know,
Mhm.
face to face.
Yes.
Once we come out of the
COVID-19.
pandemic situation.
Any other questions, comments about the learning opportunity?
Good, learning opportunity. Said it.
I almost felt it coming out and like it's
Uh-huh.
not training, we're learning.
No.
All right, guys. So I know we're super busy. Everybody's trying to get, you know, that midweek or mid-holiday scramble to get the last of the stuff done. And so if there's no other questions, then we can definitely call her good and reach out to us. You know, Nick put the link in the chat box again. That's awesome. My email's up there also. Reach out to me, give me a call. All that stuff is there. Nancy, Tamara, and I are ready to rock and roll with this. So
Ready.
Ready.
very excited about this.
Welcome, Diane.
I like your lights, Amanda. Thank you for turning your lights on.
Oh, yeah.
Rhonda, I like the placement of your flower too. It looks like it's in your hair. That's awesome.